Well, hello again, everybody. This is John Norris at Trading Perspectives. As always, we have our good friend Sam Clement. Sam, say hello.
Hey, John, how are you doing?
Sam, I'm doing fantastically, and I hope you are.
I am doing great.
And listen, we're doing great because we've got a job, right?
We do have jobs.
That's right.
For now, I guess.
For now. And the reason why I'm kind of phrasing it like that is because right now, all the economic presentations that I've been making recently, all the client contacts both Sam and I have had, invariably we will get a question about artificial intelligence and its potential impact on the labor markets. While it feels as though we have talked about AI ad nauseum around Oakworth, and while people have been talking about it out in the general public, you know, this is just that question that keeps popping up and feels that we just need to keep addressing it so people can hopefully maybe not worry so much about the future and what the threat that AI provides to really the workforce. Because after all, Sam, I would argue that while it's artificial intelligence now, accelerated computing, we have been here in the past in some form or fashion whenever there's been a major economic revolution or a significant increase in technology that fundamentally change our lives and how we conduct business. It has always led to short-term job loss, however, long-term job gain.
You're right. This is not, while AI is the new trend, there is always trends that change, industries change. Everything we do, get rid of certain jobs, create new jobs. So that's just kind of, it just is what it is, right? This is something we have, as human beings, have become or should be accustomed to, is that things are going to change. There's going to be new things created that get rid of old jobs and vice versa.
Well, and the thing that seems so crazy about people, oh, this time's different, yeah, blah, blah, blah. We don't know what's in the future, but no one's ever known what's in the future.
Yeah.
And because clairvoyancy is not really a thing, and I do have a crystal ball. We're both staring at it right now.
A wizard hat.
And I've got I do have a wizard's hat. Make me sound a little strange. But I've got these things. I can't look into the future with crystal clarity, and no one can. However, I will tell you this, that for anyone that thinks we've done everything we can or what have you, remember this. There used to be a cartoon called Dick Tracy. You ever heard of Dick Tracy?
I don't know.
All right. The answer to that is no. It's okay. You've never heard of Dick Tracy. He was a private investigator, and he used to have
I've heard of that.
He used to have a watch that was sort of a television. He could talk into the watch and all that stuff, and that was like science fiction garbage back then. I mean, it's just like unbelievable. No way. We're never going to get there. Absolutely not. All those early James Bond films, Sean Connery, is it Q that he's dealing with Q? I mean, just all that stuff. It's like, no way. You're never going to have that. And things as simple as like Star Trek, taking a look at people talking into their phones and what, that was all science fiction. Submarines at one point were science fiction. And now all these things are day-to-day realities that don't even seem that cool any longer. So whenever we say this time is different, just remember, we were saying that in the past.
Yeah, the anecdotal one for me, I remember growing up, is thinking that I remember vividly thinking, wow, it'd be cool if you could, have a phone or something tell you what song is playing. And I thought that was science fiction. Right, and now that's such a low bar. Or science fiction may not be the right word, but I just thought that was impossible to do.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to go Shazam.
Yeah,
literally and figuratively. If you're of a certain age, remember Gomer Pyle saying that.
I get that's like a very low example of it, but we all have these things that at one point we thought was science fiction. Touchscreens. I remember the iPad coming out. I thought that was. It just didn't even make sense. And so there's always these things that are going to happen that are going to revolutionize industries, that are going to get rid of jobs. Some jobs are going to be benefited by those, and there's going to be new jobs created. So like we've said, I think we're kind of hammering it home that this is not, AI is new, revolutions are not new.
Revolutions are not new, going all the way back to the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, which displaced a ton of farmers, put a lot of people out of work. They moved into the cities, worked in factories, and then we had the post-industrial or technological revolution where people went from the factories into high-rise office buildings with air conditioning, working in banks and hospitals and all that type of stuff. This time's not any different, just like we didn't know what the future had in store for us in the past. We might not know what's in store for us in the future. However, we know that something's out there, and the only thing that you can say is if you believe that there's a limit to human ingenuity, then the world is very much of a finite place and the future is going to be awful. However, if you believe that human ingenuity is infinite, and if you can only believe it or dream it, you can do it. Then the future is infinite and is a kind of exciting time.
The way I think of it is that human beings as a species are incredibly resilient. So resilience, the word I think of, that even if it does change things and any revolution gets rid of a ton of jobs, humans are so resilient to figure out new ways to go about doing things that that's kind of what I would lean on.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and if we sound a little bit cavalier, we're not, because right now, while we think we've established we've been there and done that in the past, even if you don't agree with us, I think maybe you'll probably have some thoughts about what we're going to talk about next, and that is, Sam, what jobs do you think or seem to be at the greatest risk to you right now due to advancements in AI?
I think there's probably several. We are already seeing some application of it, and things like a big one that is actually being applied right now is the people that take orders at fast food restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, it's things like that I think are going to be the first, those kind of easy swaps into AI. I've heard talks of lawyers being concerned that AI is going to replace it, financial advisors. I mean, all kinds of industries. But that is one. I don't think that really is going to happen. Maybe in some some degree. But it's those kind of easier one-for-one swap of what a specific task that you're doing kind of job, if that makes sense. So it's taking in the order, it's putting it into the computer. That's a one-for-one task.
Well, I would tell you that the jobs I think are our biggest threat right now, we're talking about AI, but it could be just those jobs for which, it doesn't require any skill whatsoever. You mentioned kiosk and self-service, all that type of stuff. Some people out there listening might argue that's not really AI or accelerated computing, and they might be right about that. However, it is a increased use of technology which is making those jobs redundant. And I think you're absolutely right. I think traditional cashiers, those types of jobs are really a thing in the past, just like telephone operators. That's really a job that no longer, for all intents and purposes, exists. We'll probably always have some measure of cashiers. After all, you have to check out in some form or fashion. But you go into that restaurant, you're not going to have 4 or 5 people behind a cashier waiting to take your order. You're going to have 4 or 5 kiosks and what have you. And so those are the types of jobs, I think, lower level, relatively unskilled jobs that require some measure of rote input are going to, technology is going to gobble those things up, particularly in those areas where I'd say arguably well-meaning politicians continue to increase the minimum wage or, for all intents and purposes, the floor for unskilled labor above the market clearing price for it.
I've got one more for you, too. And this is a little maybe broader, but I think it's the Uber drivers, taxi drivers, things like that, with whether it's, all kinds of ride sharing and, self-driving and things like that. It is a large chunk of that is AI driven. Yeah. And is going to continue to be. And I think it's the same with, you mentioned cashiers, or we both did. Not only is AI a selling point when it becomes cheaper than the alternative, it is a selling point when it becomes better than the alternative.
Yes.
And the data around driving is already, we're still early in the self-driving trend. And the data that I've seen is already overwhelmingly positive that self-driving is safer than humans driving.
Well, it's kind of funny that you should mention that. And I kind of veered off in my brain for a second talking about, you mentioned cashiers, and then you start talking about driverless cars and how it gets better and all that stuff. I will tell you how many times, just veering to the side, apologize. How many times have you gone to say, while you eat healthy, I know you've been to a fast food restaurant at least at some point in your life.
I like fast food.
Yeah, well, there you go. How many times have they gotten your order wrong?
Oh, all the time.
All the time.
It's a sticking point between
it's
my wife and I.
It's awful.
Do you check the food before you leave?
Someone's always screwing it up, right? Well, I will tell you that, you use the self-service kiosk, guess what?
Yeah. It takes one of the two areas of error out of it.
It takes potential for human error down quite a bit, and I will tell you that, there was a time not so long ago, I was in a fast food joint using the kiosk, put my stuff in, came back, they got my order wrong. Boy, I was just like, how can they get there? And I looked at my receipt, You know who got the order wrong?
You got the order.
I got the order wrong. So I wonder how many times in the past where I'm thinking I'm ordering something, and they input it correctly, or the order came back wrong. In any event, that's an aside. I could agree with you wholeheartedly when AI or just advancements in technology make jobs and service that much better, people will adapt to it. And then also when it makes things that much less expensive. That's when businesses will adopt it. So that's what I find frustrating about all these well-meaning politicians dramatically increasing the minimum wage. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to go out and get fired. And that's what people think. Hey, we're going to have all this huge job losses. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that business owners are going to immediately go out and cut their workforce. They can't do that immediately. It just means that in all probability, a lot of jobs that might have been created in the future might not be because those business owners are going to find other ways of adding that capacity besides more expensive human labor. Now, with that being said, I'm not sure we got to all the jobs that appear at risk, but I will tell you that a general characteristic of the jobs that are at risk, and those are ones which were at risk before AI. Mm-hmm. And for that, I mean those associates which haven't established themselves in some form or fashion that might not be quite as productive. Frankly, remote workers and a lot of things. Those people that it doesn't matter what business, it doesn't matter what company, there's always going to be some measure of workers, it might even be yourself, where people go, I don't know what they do. I don't know what they do for a living. I'm not sure what value add they have. Mm-hmm. And while they could be saying the exact same thing about you, I think there might always be some kind of positions where people go, that person really doesn't add a lot of value to the company. Those are the jobs that will be made redundant or on AI, or at least businesses will blame their redundancies on AI. And certainly I think at AI, at Oakworth, we're much more productive than a lot of other employers where I've worked. I just remember people at previous employers, this one woman sat around and read the Bible all day long. I mean, which is great. I mean, I think you should do such things, but not while you're getting paid by your employer. At any rate, so I would say that level of worker, person that shows up a little bit late, leaves a little bit early, make sure they use all of their lunchtime and then some, make sure they use all their PTO and all that. Those people that treat their job as a job as opposed to potential to a career or the potential to expand, those jobs are going to be at risk. Now, with that being said, what jobs appear safe?
I think, broadly speaking, professional services are safe for now, and I think I threw out lawyers and finance, which could be anything from investment banking to financial advisors to what have you. I think those are largely safe for now. Consultants, things like that. But I think the trend of jobs that are safe, and the ones within those industries that are especially going to be safe, are the ones that lean in and utilize AI as well. So it's not this. I don't think of it as, sure, the easy answer is plumbers and electricians and things like that. That's obvious, right? Yes. That AI is not going to take the job away. It may make them more efficient and you need less, what have you, but it's not going to take those jobs away. But professional services as a whole, you're already seeing them lean in and leverage AI. It's not this separate from it and we don't need it. It's advisory firms, and estate planning is using AI. I mean, lawyers are using it to draft the starting point for documents.
Much better documents.
Consultants are using it to, investment bankers for PowerPoints presentations, like they're using AI and it's saving them time. So people still want hands-on. They want people that they trust handling, especially these important professional services, but they want them to do it efficiently. So I think AI it's a hand-in-hand thing with AI. Obviously, the easy answer would be the manual labor jobs, construction, plumbing, things like that.
The computer's probably not going to paint your nails. Not that you're getting your nails painted, but I would imagine Hannah is
I could see that, though.
Oh, well, I don't know. You'll probably not do it real well. I would tell you that I mostly agree with you. While people would say, well, come on, what Sam mentioned, the first jobs to be cut, I would tell you there's something really kind of unique about human beings. Human beings are social animals, right? Creatures, if you don't like call human beings animals. We're social creatures, and we like dealing with other people. And typically we like dealing with other people that we trust. You're never, at least not now, at least for, I think, the remainder of my career, and probably the remainder of even yours, Sam, where we're going to get to a point where human nature changes so much that people would rather deal with a computer or an impersonal software package for all of their legal needs, for all of their financial needs. We might get there, but I think particularly people whose situation's a little bit more complicated, what have you, they're still going to want to deal with an individual, at least some form or fashion. I will say, though, that what I am concerned about is what AI will do will reduce the need for the number of attorneys that we're creating, the number of maybe CPAs that we're creating, the number of financial advisors that we're creating, because as you mentioned, AI is going to make all of those professional people, the architects, engineers, that much more efficient, that they will be that much more productive, that we will not need to have the additional capacity to be met. We won't need human beings to meet to fill that additional capacity need.
It sounds like lower prices for consumers for a lot of this
Ultimately, I think AI will be deflationary.
And I think so too. The example I've used with people, to your point about human beings being social creatures, is pilots.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so much of the planes, and I'm kind of getting over my skis here. I'm not a pilot. I don't fully understand it, but it's easy for me to envision where planes could be almost fully automated.
Well, I know.
Would you want to be on a plane that is fully automated and doesn't have a pilot?
The people that will fly the big planes overseas and all that stuff will tell you that that's largely the way it is now. I've got a friend guy used to be a friend was strong, buddy. Buddy's a better way of saying it. Really good guy. Flew for a major carrier, and he was a long haul guy. He was out, although he lived in Birmingham, he was based out of Chicago, and would fly to Delhi, New Delhi and all that stuff. What was that? I mean, a massively long flight. And he said, really, autopilot does most of it. You type in the coordinates and talk to air traffic control. He said, when we're flying over the Pacific Ocean, we're not doing a lot of manual flying. It's the getting up to altitude and getting down from altitude is where most of that's done. So technology has already taken over a lot of that. And I'll go through this long-winded sort of story to tell you that we already have a lot of it, but when push comes to shove, no, you're probably right. I probably would like to know that there is at least someone in the cockpit that can take over in case the machine malfunctions or doesn't see something, a sensor goes out, all of that type of stuff. It's more of a backup than anything else.
Yeah.
So you're right. I probably would. Who knows? 2-3 generations from now it might be completely different. But right now, those types of jobs I think are relatively safe.
Yep, I agree.
So what do you think workers can do to protect themselves from all these job cuts?
Well, I think I already said it with some industries that I think are safe.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to exclude those things that computers have almost no role in, the manual labor type things.
Yeah,
that can create.
It's going to be tough for my laptop to dig
right.
a
But
ditch.
even then, I think on the business side of those industries, whether it's planning or scheduling or what have you, I think the best way is to lean into it. I think the worst way is to push against it and try. I think it's something for almost. There's probably some I'm not thinking of. I think pretty much every industry or business or company can leverage AI to some extent.
Yes.
Maybe not in the plumber fixing the leak, but in the scheduling of it, the answering calls, the coordinating to which route to go to next. That kind of stuff is already will be so much more widespread that's talking about being deflationary, prices coming down. If you can't compete with those businesses that are becoming more efficient extremely rapidly, I think that is where you start to be at danger, is when you're competing with someone that has this almost secret weapon in their back pocket.
Well, I completely agree with you, and I would say that the best way workers can protect themselves is, as you mentioned, lean into it or just be willing to adapt to the new technology. It doesn't mean that you have to understand exactly how AI works. It doesn't mean that you have to do it for every single aspect of your job, but you have to be able to at least be familiar with it and use it when you need to use it so you can profit from it. And those people that don't do that are doomed to be crushed by it. It's kind of like, back in the day, Sam, this might sound crazy to a guy your age, people that I'm not going to send emails. They'll never replace good old fashioned just correspondence. Nonsense. What would we do without the fax machine? All that type of stuff. It's just
I've never sent a fax.
Never. I haven't sent a fax in 20 years.
Yeah.
So why would you have sent one? I mean, so those types of things, just those people that are saying, I'm not going to do this, or, oh, listen, that's not for me, I'm not going to worry with it. You sound like a Luddite, and you're going to be treated like a Luddite, and it's going to be bad news for you. And you will be one of those people whose job might seem to be at risk.
I agree.
So with that, is there any end in sight to this?
Well, I don't think so. I think the easy answer is no, but what I really believe is part of the issue when you're talking with people about the benefits and the uses of AI and whether it's going to change things is when people say AI, different people are going to think different things.
Yes.
A lot of people still think of AI as a Google search replacement.
Yes.
That is not how AI, you can use it like that, but when businesses and industries are talking about leveraging AI, they're not saying, can you reword this email for me, and can you find this so I don't have to Google search it? It is entirely changing businesses, coding. I mean, you could go down the list of entire industries that it is rapidly changing almost overnight. And that's where I think some of the issue goes with kind of to that question, is there an end in sight? I'd say no. And I think people who say yes are probably not fully understanding the use cases for AI.
Well, I would say in terms of there any end in sight, has there been any end in sight to the technological advancement that we've seen over the last 100 years?
Yeah. Or has there been an end in sight of the internet?
No.
It's
it continues to evolve.
evolve.
When human beings were allowed to enjoy the fruits of their labors, and when the powers that be allowed for individual property rights and adhere to the rule of law, you saw an explosion in human ingenuity and creativity, and you will continue to see explosions in ingenuity and creativity as long as our governing authorities allow people to keep the fruits of their labors and pass laws that ensure that. And as long as we have those things, you will not see any end in sight to the increase in human ingenuity and technological advancements. You can see that just in the countries that succeed and those countries that don't succeed. And if you elect or somehow allow people to govern you that do not allow for this type of stuff, that is when there will be an end in sight.
I agree.
All right, guys, thank you all so much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please, by all means, let us know. You can always drop us a line at tradingperspectives@oakworth.com, where you can leave us a review on the podcast outlet of your choice. As always, if you're interested in reading more or hearing more of what we got to say or how we think, you can always go to oakworth.com, OAKWORTH.com. Take a look underneath the Thought Leadership tab and find access to all kinds of exciting information, including links to previous Trading Perspectives podcasts, links to our newsletter/blog, Common Sense, and links to our quarterly analysis and magazine, Macro and Market, all the individual components, as well as the magazine itself. And then finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the good work that Mac Frazier and all of the folks in the advisory services group here at Oakworth Capital Bank put out there as well. So with that being said, Sam, you have anything else to talk about on this exciting topic today?
That's all I've got.
That's all I've got today, too. Y'all take care.